Greetings to everyone in the second part. Thanks to everyone who was at the first. I am very grateful for your support. Jimmy is with you as always. I will not detain you. Let's get started. The first story in the second part. From the user, Icy Attitude, let's listen. I've known my husband for 6 years, been married for 1. I moved across the country for college when I was 18, where I met my 24 husband, 25. I've only been back a couple of times over the years, mostly for holidays. But my husband had never gone back with me until we ended up moving back to be closer to my family. Since we've been back, I've been trying to get closer to my family, especially with my sister. She was in some bad relationships and cut off contact with me and my parents for a few years. But she's back now, and I had hoped that we'd be able to build a relationship. I had noticed that she'd not been coming over to my place as much, not spending as much time with the family. And then a few weekends ago, she asked me if we could talk. She said that she felt that she wanted to let me know that my husband had been making comments and saying things to her that she thought were inappropriate. My sister is gorgeous, beyond beautiful, and she's always attracted attention, even from married men. My husband had been making comments about her body and her looks, compliments, but ones that made her feel uncomfortable. During Christmas, he had told her how attractive she was, and some stuff about how lucky her boyfriend was. Since then, she's been trying to not be around him as much by not coming around as much, and was afraid of how I was going to react if I found out. I was obviously really upset, but I told her that I understood and that it wasn't her fault and that it wouldn't happen again. My husband and I ended up in a fight when I confronted him about what she had told me, but eventually he admitted that he'd said most of that stuff to her, even though he tried to pass it off like he didn't mean anything by it. I made it clear that he wasn't to say anything like what he'd said to her again, and that he'd apologize for his inappropriateness. He agreed with everything I asked of him. I let her know about my conversation with my husband, and that he'd apologize whenever she felt like hearing it. But she's still not been coming around to family events. I'm so scared that his comments have driven a wedge between my sister and the rest of us. She and I hadn't talked for a long time until I had moved back, and I've been scared that something is going to make her want to leave again. Author update this story. I was honestly so surprised by the amount of responses that my original post garnered. I tried to read everyone's thoughts, and I just want to say that I am really grateful to everyone who offered some perspective and took the time to share their thoughts, even if they were upset with the fact that I was handling everything in the wrong way. I wanted to update anyone who is interested in the state of everything right now. I feel I'm still going to be making people upset and angry, but I'm still trying to work out all that has happened in the last few weeks. And I'm hoping that I can eventually wrap my head around the situation and make better choices. One of the things that many people said is that my husband may have said or done more than my sister had told me, and that she's feeling unsafe and that I've betrayed her. This thought is what has gotten to me the most, and it's been weighing on my shoulders. I'm struggling very hard with what to do next. The main update I have is that my sister and I have been talking. She hadn't been responding to most of my messages and calls since the last time that we had spoken in person, which is when I told her what I talked about with my husband. The last message I sent her was one that asked if she wanted to get lunch, which was the day before I posted. She ended up answering that one a couple of days after the post and agreed to have lunch with me. When we met up, she acted very normal. She seemed very much like her usual self, very bubbly and outgoing. I honestly can't tell if she's actually more upset and bothered than she's appearing. Her birthday is coming up at the end of this month, and she wants to have a girls' trip weekend away, and she wants my help planning everything. She seems excited about that, and as far as I can tell, she is behaving as if everything is fine. I didn't know if I should bring up the situation with my husband, but I ended up asking her about it again. She reiterated what she had told me before. He complimented her on her looks and her outfits in a suggestive way, and had said the thing about her boyfriend being a lucky man. She said, again, that she was mostly concerned with how I was going to feel about it. I didn't ask her if she felt unsafe around him. I feel now like I should have, but at the time, I was still afraid that she didn't trust me and might feel like I was putting her on the spot. During lunch, I asked her what she would think if I left him, She repeated that her main worry before coming to me was causing issues between my husband and I, but told me that she didn't like my husband and didn't think he was a good guy, in general and specifically for me. I'm still worried about her, that she feels threatened and afraid of my husband. But right now, she's acting okay with me. I'm hoping that if things continue to seem normal, we can continue to talk and she might open up more. Since that lunch, we've seen each other several times. I made dinner for my mom last Sunday, and she came over to eat with us, and then we did some planning for her birthday. Again, she's still acting as if everything is normal, but I'm still incredibly worried about her. The other thing that happened is that I started sleeping over at my mom's house. My mom has been having health mobility issues that have made it difficult for her to do a lot. I had been trying to do as much as I could for her, but she's been needing someone around more full-time. I'd been so overwhelmed these past few months, driving over to her house every day to drop off food and do the things around the house that she needed. I had already been considering finding someone to stay with her until she's back on her feet. After everything that happened, and then what I read in the last post, I talked to her about it. She agreed to let me stay with her in exchange for helping her out more. My mom's extra bedrooms are used as storage, so I had to spend last weekend uncluttering a place to sleep. But one of my sister's friends came over to help me clear out the room, and I've been staying here since then. My husband figured out what I was doing and asked if it was because of what had happened with my sister. I told him that I wasn't lying about wanting to help my mom more, but that it was part of it. He was pretty upset, but he eventually let go. Right now, my primary focus has to be on helping my mom and bringing my grades up in grad school, and I've been too anxious and upset over the last few weeks to concentrate, and I can't afford to let my GPA slide. I'm also trying to be available for my sister whenever she wants to talk. Even though things appear to be stable with her right now, I'm still really anxious over what she might be thinking and feeling. It's a lot, and I'm really struggling with figuring out how to balance everything right now. My sister has been really helpful, and so has her friend. My sister brought dinner for me and my mom this week, and her friend left some frozen meals for me to heat up when I'm too tired or busy to cook. He's also going to help me get my mom to her doctor's appointments this week. I'm scared to admit that I still don't know what to do about my husband. I got so many messages and DMs from people who were upset that I hadn't left him yet. But I'm still just feeling too overwhelmed to really come to terms with everything. I'm just trying to get through next month. I've got midterms and my sister's birthday. And then I feel like I can take a breath and take some time to figure out what to do about my relationship. It's very hard to think clearly right now, and I hope that the space between my husband and I is going to help and not hinder that. My husband is extremely upset. He's been calling and texting night and day with all the same questions that I couldn't answer in my last post, and I feel bad that I don't have any answers for anyone yet. But unfortunately, I'm still trying to figure it out. Again, I know there are so many people who are going to hate me for this, and I'm sorry, but I'm still just trying to wrap my mind around everything. What I think about this story. Exactly. She's at least showing her sister, whether it be by convenience for her mom's health or be by her own feelings on the situation, that she is taking what she says seriously and continuing to be there without pressuring her is a good way to approach this. Especially with so much going on, I don't blame her for not immediately leaving and taking care of the priorities being herself and her mom. The husband can stew and self-reflect while OP gets there together to get out. Let's check the user comment. Big change can be scary, but honestly, if your husband felt comfortable making those types of comments to your sister, then probably it is the tip of the iceberg. I think you are making the right moves. It is also to take you time. You don't have to rush to leave him and set things on fire. Sometimes people just need time to process, plan, and execute, and that is okay. You are showing support for your sister and your mom and have out your husband on notice. None of those things are small things. Be proud. The next story from the user Adser, let's listen. Don't get me 18 male wrong. I love them, but they expect me to spend the rest of my life here in the project joining my dad at his work. They never wanted me to leave the house, let alone the state. I remember a few months ago when we were talking about college, they looked at me like I'm crazy. My dad got so pissed off, he was yelling at me, and my mom was basically guilt-tripping me ever since about abandoning my family when they raised me. So the least I could do was stay to help my dad in his business. That's not the life I want, though. For years, they always kind of decided that I'm not doing anything else except this. So they don't even know that I started applying at different colleges, or that I've got a full scholarship. Couldn't even share that news with them because they'd lose their dump. My girlfriend and I already found an apartment to move in together closer to campus, which is like 20 hours away from here. Our summer classes start in over a week, so we decided this is going to be our last weekend here, so we can have time to move. I'm not taking a lot with me except my clothes and important papers. She told me I should tell them since we're already leaving anyways, but I don't got the heart to do it. Tibet, I don't want today and tomorrow to be fighting or them being sad mad with me. I want our last weekend to be normal before I gotta leave. Just hope they can accept my choice in the future. Author update this story. So I added in my last post that my girlfriend and I were on the road already, but that I'll say more later. Here it is. The whole thing went as hard as I expected it. I mentioned in another comment, my parents thought all we were doing was going on a camping trip with my girlfriend's family for a few days. When I hugged at them to say bye, they thought this was still a camping trip, like an hour-ish. And I FaceTimed with them to say the truth. We pulled over so I could talk to them outside the car. My dad was yelling, my mom was crying. He couldn't believe he raised me to be this selfish with them. All my mom could say was, she can't even look at me right now since I basically picked school over my family. It broke my heart, TBH. But it made me glad we didn't have this talk in person because it would have hurt a million times worse. Trying to tell them I'm not abandoning them and I want them to be part of this journey with me didn't work. Nothing I said worked at all. My mom completely left the conversation, so it was only my dad. All he had left to say, though, was, I better not expect help from them ever in the future because help is for family, and I've shown them I'm not family anymore. He hung up on me. They haven't sent any other messages since yesterday. My girlfriend was the best supporter here. I cried it out, and she was hugging me the whole time until we got back on the road again. Right now, I feel like the movie Tangled going through different stages between happy and guilty. I'm trying not to focus too much on my family, just to be excited for the future. We are taking the scenic route going up the Pacific Coast Highway. Last night, we made it to Santa Barbara to spend the night. We took a detour to the beach this morning, and we're on our way now to this little place called Solvang to look around for a bit. It's been fun so far. We want to make it a memorable experience, so we're going to be making a few more stops along the way to just look at everything. We'll probably be making it in 2 or 3 days, but we still have time to settle in before our classes start. Still sad, obviously, but we are still enjoying the drive together. I really appreciated everyone's support here. Didn't respond to everyone, but I've read almost all of your comments during the drive. You guys are so sweet. Thank you for showing your support because this really was the hardest thing I had to do. What I think about this story. Your attitude should not be, it is what it is, but it is what they chose to make it. They had plenty of chances to work with you and create a relationship that worked for both of y'all, but they chose not to. They have the opportunity now to find a way to make the life they chose for themselves and the life you chose for yourself fit together. But they refuse. So when they said, our way or the highway, you respected them and their demands and chose the highway to a better life. They can still turn it around by respecting you, but that's up to them. Let's check the user comment. I was the first in my family to go to college, graduated high school in the 90s. Life derailed me, and my cousin finished a degree before I did, but I was the first to get there. I'm not from the projects, but I did grow up with a single mom. College was not even a choice for me, it was an expectation. My mom never asked me if I wanted to go at all. It was simply presented as the natural path to follow, and she did as much as she could to make it possible. She couldn't pay for my tuition, but she made sure to encourage me to get scholarships, signed me up for campus tours, etc. My entire first year of college and part of the second year was paid with scholarships, but after that, I was on my own with student loans. Spoiler alert, when the money ran out, I left university and went to community college, then transferred to what was basically an upper-level community college. My mom gave me as much support as she could the entire time. Oops, parents are baffling. Thanks to everyone who was with us today. I was very glad to see you. Jimmy was with you. See you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.